My name is Tim Smith, and my persuasive speech on why Texas is the best state to live in, and I'm here to tell you exactly why. I was born and raised in the greatest state in the universe. From the food to the people to the overall happiness of everyone that lives here, we are a proud state and take it very seriously when we say there's nowhere else that is better to be than Texas. First off is the grub. So you get the best of both worlds when it comes to Mexican food. You have Mexican food and you have Tex-Mex. So authentic Mexican food is more bold flavor, more colorful plates, a little bit more decoration, things of that nature, and then a few various different ingredients and spices. For Tex-Mex, your portions are usually much bigger, and it's usually quality, not necessarily over quantity, but definitely quality is still definitely there. Cumin and chili powder are actually not even in normal Mexican food. They are actually only in Tex-Mex. You very rarely find it in authentic Mexican food. And part two of the grub of Texas is Texas barbecue. Texas barbecue is one of the biggest staples that is associated with the state, period. We basically invented the word brisket. Also on top of that is ribs, sausage, and it varies around the state. So if you're, say, in East Texas, you may cook it a little more longer and it'd be like fall off the bone ribs, except for like in North Texas where you want to cook it a little less, where you want to actually keep it on the bone and keep that juiciness in the meat all together. Barbecue sauce is more of a spicy and smoky flavor than most other states that do produce their own. It's part of Texas culture, but it's definitely one of the best things about Texas. And speaking of culture, Texas does have its own culture. Believe it or not, we do not all ride horses to school and things of that nature. Country music as a whole is a big thing about Texas. There's mainstream and then there's Texas country. Mainstream's a little more pop, like say Luke Bryan, Florida Georgia Line, things like that. And then Texas country is kind of what keeps to the roots of country music as a whole, and also talks great things about Texas, like Cody Johnson, Kyle Park, and a few others like that. And if you're not a fan of country music, there's also others. Beyonce is from Texas, she's from Houston. And a big one that is a staple of Texas from Corpus Christi area is Selena Quintanilla. And of course, she died when she was younger, but she is still a very big staple of what the picture of Texas is like. Also, for culture is our sports. Our sports we are very serious and we're very passionate about. Not everybody, but most. Friday Night Lights, also known as high school football, it's basically another religion here in Texas. It's a thing all on its own. Also, besides just high school football, we have a lot of professional sports teams. So we have two baseball teams, which are the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. We have two professional basketball teams, which are the San Antonio Spurs. Three basketball teams, which are the San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks, and the Houston Rockets. And then we have two professional football teams, which are the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. And we have a few Major League Soccer teams, including FC Dallas and Houston Dynamo and a few others. So there's a little bit something for everybody, no matter what sport you like. It's all just great, and it's fun to do. It's definitely a thing to do, especially during the summertime for some of the sports, and then fall and winter, there's always something to do. Speaking of things to do, outdoor things to do, we have hundreds of lakes that are actual ones that you can swim in. There's a lot of them you can't because there's things like alligators and such in there, so you gotta be careful of what you're swimming in. But hundreds of lakes, it's a big staple, floating down the Frio on an inner tube, things like that. It's a great part of what makes Texas such a beautiful state, because you can see the nature, the water, everything like that. It's awesome, absolutely love it. Definitely one of my favorite things to do during the summer. Also the beach, water's not as clean as most other states, but it's definitely still a staple of Texas. You won't really ask anybody who has a bad time at Port Aransas or maybe South Padre Island during spring break. It's a pretty great part of Texas. And then if you don't want to be at the beach or the lake, There's also state and national parks. So we have quite a few state parks, and we actually have one national park, which is Big Bend. And as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. And I've never personally gotten to go. I still want to, but it's located out in West Texas, and I haven't gotten out that way yet, but I will definitely be getting there. But you can go canoeing, you can go hiking. There's no cell service out there at all, unless you climb to the highest peak or the highest mountain out there. There's no cell service. So you really can get away, maybe by yourself, maybe with some friends or family, and really actually connect with nature and maybe get back to yourself and recompose yourself, recharge your batteries, and then go on about your everyday life whenever you get back. So for indoors, you can catch a concert pretty much year round, depending on what type and things like that. But yeah, concerts year round are a positive thing about Texas, between Texas country, and then of course you have the big names like maybe Cardi B. Cardi B has been here a lot. Post Malone's been here. Travis Scott. I mean, everybody wants to come to Texas to perform. It's a great place to perform. If it's maybe too loud for you, we have a lot of museums. We even have a museum about Texas called the Bob Bullock Museum, and it's a museum on the history of Texas. There's also fine art museums in Dallas and Houston. There's war museums. There's the Pacific War Museum, and then there's the USS Lexington, which is down near Corpus Christi, where you can tour an aircraft carrier. So there's kind of a little something for everybody. There's even presidential libraries that are located in Texas. Also indoors, which is a big part, especially around the Fort Worth area, is the rodeo. There's various rodeos. There's in San Antonio, there's Austin, there's Houston or whatever, but rodeo is definitely a big part of getting back to our roots and who we are as Texans. So in conclusion, Texas is a wonderful place to be. The people, the food, the culture, and of course, no state tax. That was a great place to raise a family. I had to leave at one point, but I will always come back no matter what happens. This is my home, and I'm proud to be from the Lone Star State.